Alex Jones here with a Christmas Day message to all the great info warriors out there. First off, Merry Christmas to you. This has become somewhat of a litmus test if you're for free speech or not. In our modern 1984 world, if you sign emails, Merry Christmas, a lot of people will email you back saying, no, Happy Holidays. And we noticed that they started this 30, 40 years ago saying don't call gays homosexuals, call them gay. So a word that was meant to be associated with it being a happy, sunny, wonderful day. He was a gay lad. It was a gay day. Now that word has been appropriated for homosexual men. And if you don't use the word they tell you to use, the media says you're a hateful person, even if you're not. And once they've got you using basic words like that, once they've got you changing the use of words, well, now they can get rid of the entire dictionary or the encyclopedia and change things around the way they want to. This is all part of the great age of deception. And so I love how the mainstream media calls this the post-truth era, when they've been the post-truth era, and we're now coming out of the post-truth era because the public now has access to their own printing presses and can challenge the lies and disinformation. So what they're pissed about is the fact that there's now competition in the realm of ideas, and they've gone from king of the hill to a shadow of themselves to now a complete inversion with basically almost no viewers. Those watching them basically don't believe a word they're saying. That said, speaking of disinformation, the last 2 days we've heard, oh my gosh, Trump wants nuclear war. See, we warned you. He tweeted out saying if countries want to have an arms race, we'll outperform you. And if other countries are developing a new nuclear weapon, so will we. And his tweets were very, very clear because 2 weeks ago the Communist Chinese came out and said we're going to build a bunch of new nuclear weapons. And Russia's also announced that. They've all basically broke the treaties. The United States has broken the treaties as well. Obama has. And so Trump said, yeah, we'll outperform you, which is what he always said he would do. So Putin came out and was truthful about this yesterday and said Trump always said he was going to beef up U.S. military. That's fine. We're not in conflict with the United States. We want to work economically with you. But instead, our media came out and said that Putin was mad at Trump, that Trump was mad at him, when the whole issue was about communist China. You can look up the articles where 2 weeks ago, actually 16 days ago to be technical, they came out and said, we're beefing up our nuclear arsenal for America, and we're going to put weapons in the South China Sea on these islands. And they grabbed our drone submarine. You know what happened. And that's why mainstream media has no credibility, because they've got this whole hoax going that Trump's trying to start a nuclear war or trying to, take us into a new arms race, when all he's doing is saying he will match what other countries develop and deploy, something he's always promised to do. And he was responding to the bravado of the communist Chinese. Putin has come out and said, we know the U.S. military is way more advanced and superior to ours. He says we can defend ourselves, and that's what our system is based on. And the Russian system is defensive. Now let's move forward to what's really important. Headline, Putin, the Democratic Party, you lost, get over it. This came out on Friday. I'm going to play some of the speech in Russian, but read over it in English with the subtitles. The story's up on Infowars.com, and it's just amazing. The Democrats are still saying that Trump's a Russian agent, I'm a Russian agent. Breitbart's run by the Russians. Drudge is run by the Russians. Is that why they lost 900 plus seats at the legislatures? Is that why they lost a record number of governors? Is that why they lost seats in the Senate and the House? Is it because of that, because the Russians are so magical? Or is it because the people all over the world are rejecting globalism? And here domestically, the Republican Party establishment's in trouble. It's being rejected. And so is the Democratic Party establishment. We want real fundamental change. We mean business. And no amount of corporate media lies is going to reverse that. But I tell you, some of these quotes from Putin are just gold. He says, look, you're changing the subject. You lost. Here it is. Russian President Vladimir Putin has a message for the White House and Democratic leaders who accused him of stealing their candidate's victory. Don't be sore losers. That was how Putin answered a question Friday at his nationally televised annual news conference about whether Russia interfered in the U.S. presidential election in favor of Donald Trump. Quote, the Democrats are losing on all fronts, because they're globalist, I would add. The Democrats are losing on all fronts and looking elsewhere for things to blame. He told the nearly 1,400 journalists packed into a Moscow convention hall for the nearly 4-hour event. In my view, this, how shall I say it, degrades their own dignity. You have to know how to lose with dignity. The Kremlin leader, who also sent an upbeat letter to Trump last week, with the president-elect revealed Friday, pointed out Republicans had won the House, Senate as well. Did we do that too? He asked with a slight grin. And it gets better than that. It gets better than that because he also pointed out that she lost 5 electors and Trump only 2. So he just went on from there. I mean, it's amazing. There's several videos. And he goes on to reiterate a stronger nuclear arsenal, which he called for after the Chinese called for it, because they're right there on the Russian doorstep. And a little secret, it's not really a secret, people that are geopolitically informed, Russia and China think they'll have a war with each other before they have it with us. They border each other and have centuries of problems between each other. Continuing, to chide the Democratic leadership, Putin invoked the U.S. president he occasionally mentions as someone he admires. He appears to seek a favorable comparison to Franklin D. Roosevelt, America's longest-serving head of state, because of his own efforts to help Russia prosper after the ruinous depression that followed the Soviet Union's demise. Outstanding figures in American history from the ranks of the Democratic Party would likely be turning in their graves. Roosevelt certainly would be, Putin told the journalist. Trump understood the mood of the people and kept going until the end when nobody believed in him, Putin said, adding with another wry smile, except for you and me. And here's a letter, a very nice letter from Vladimir Putin. His thoughts are so correct, Trump said. Trump's transition team quoted the president-elect saying, I hope both sides are able to live up to those thoughts, and we do have to travel alternative path. And again, we have this whole story posted on Infowars.com. The Washington Post basically has a good transcript as well. Here is some of the audio where this is broken down, and then I'll read over it in English.
Попытки свалить свои неудачи.
The current U.S. administration and the Democratic Party leadership are trying.
Действующая администрация и руководство Демократической партии Соединенных Штатов
To blame external factors for all their problems.
Пытается свалить на внешние факторы. Демпартия проиграла не только президентские выборы.
On an outside group, we know the Democratic Party has lost not only the presidential elections, but also the Senate. And then he goes on. Again, the full video is up on Infowars.com. This is a very exciting time, folks, because a lot of big defense manufacturers want us to just waste our money on weapon systems that don't work, billion-dollar fighter planes that aren't even as good as F-15s. They want us to suppress Russia because it's nationalistic and because it's Christmas. You have to understand we have a very atheistic, anti-God system trying to take over because it wants to make the state God. And it wants you to owe allegiance to it, not even to your own family. That's why very, very exciting things are happening. But I'm going to go ahead and conclude this transmission. Again, the full transcript and videos are up on Infowars.com. And I'll be filing more reports throughout the evening. I want to thank Buckley, who's working on getting these up on Christmas Day. And, of course, Michael Zimmerman as well, who filed several live reports with me yesterday. Tomorrow, of course, we have the 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Central Time, 4-hour transmission. Please spread the word because we don't have the big Google systems and the big corporate establishment media systems to force feed the public this information. It's all up to you to pay it forward and to transmit this information. And that's why we're having such a big victory. It is human action against the globalists. We can overpower them. We're organic. We're real. I wish you all a wonderful Christmas. And again, it's important to say Merry Christmas because that is the holiday. And yes, I know it's not Christ's real birth. And yes, I know it's the winter solstice. And yes, I know the Christmas trees are Germanic. So what? It's all just culture. The globalists want to override it because they hate Christianity and it is a Christian holiday. Okay? And the fact is, none of it's perfect. Santa Claus, all this other crap. But the globalists want something that doesn't have any hope and that's ugly. Look at all the declassified stuff about the 60s when the CIA funded ugly art, ugly architecture to make you feel small and not have the human soul basically resonate up to higher brainwaves. I mean, you cannot make this stuff up. Look it up for yourself. You will be blown away. So I'll say it again because they hate it, because they want to dictate what words we can use. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say, see, I told you so, that communist Chinese-style net censorship was coming to the web, because it's already here. It's being announced. The way you keep the internet open and free is you get involved more than ever. Go to Infowars.com/app. A new battleship in the fight. Infowars Live, available right now. We're looking for a crew to man it. You gonna sit down and play games and be a trendy? Or are you gonna be part of history? Don't sit by and let the internet and free speech be stolen from you. Take action.